What's up, bro?
Yo, 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 yo.
Yo, 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 yo. We're going on a walk. It's gonna be visually intriguing and entertaining. Where are we driving?
Let's just drive towards the bridge. I want to hear this sound a little bit.
So, all right, people, real quick. This is Quinn. Hi, Quinn.
What's up?
We're in San Francisco for work, and we have a little break skis. Making content, and we're gonna make even more content. Apparently, Quinn is interesting because he drove fuel trucks for a James Bond movie.
No, first of all, I've never said I'm interesting.
Hey, well, we're here now. So are you interesting or not? Because I'll stop the recording.
I'll be interesting for you. I'll make stuff up if you need me to.
First of all, what are your thoughts? So as a content creator, you've been creating content for 20 years.
Yeah.
Longer than YouTube's been around.
That's right.
So what are your thoughts about like YouTube-y kind of influencery kind of stuff? As a filmmaker.
Ooh. You want my honest opinion?
No, I
this?
want your fake one, please.
Okay. Well, first I'll give you my fake one. Okay. It is amazing what influencers are doing for this world. Here's the thing. I think it's awesome. On one hand, I think it's awesome what has happened with content in the world because it has become totally democratized. Like everyone has access to all of this information. They have a entertainment and all of these things at their absolute fingertips. I think it has changed how people are a little bit, though. Like you, maybe.
Ooh, in what ways?
Just kidding.
What do you mean? How am I changed?
I don't know. I don't know you in any other way.
I'm more ecstatic.
For example, two of my kids
love TikTok.
No, they haven't been on TikTok yet, but they will watch. Oh shoot, what's his name?
Logan Paul.
No.
Mr. Beast.
He plays just Minecraft all day. What is his name?
Dude, there's a million of those people. They have the most trending videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's all Minecraft people.
So they play Minecraft all day, and one of my kids said when he grows up he wants to be a YouTuber.
Minecraft YouTuber.
Yes. And
legendary.
I mean, part of me is like, yeah, I guess, whatever you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then the other part of you.
But the other part of me is like, that's not like a fulfilling life, But maybe it is, I guess.
How old are your kids, just to clarify?
So I have a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old.
And they're all boys?
All boys.
Okay. And which one said that he wanted to be a Minecraft YouTuber?
The 6-year-old.
Okay.
But now he has changed a little bit. He now wants to be a DJ. So.
A DJ, okay. And can you get with that?
I can get behind a DJ.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
There's using some creativity there and some putting things together, and so I can get behind that.
And why do you feel like you can't get behind the Minecraft YouTuber?
Well,
you said it's not a fulfilling.
It's just it's allowing people to. I don't know.
Do they have phones?
No, they don't.
They don't. So I guess 9 is pretty young. But dude, people give. Wait. So do they have an iPad?
They have our iPads.
Okay.
So they use our iPads when they play games.
Okay.
We gave one of our kids our old phone, but we pulled the SIM card. It's a gaming phone.
True.
And by the way, his name is Max.
Hi.
No, my son's name is Max.
Oh, okay, cool.
We named him after you.
Really?
Yeah.
And we didn't meet till yesterday.
Right. But
that's kind of crazy.
I know in my world I probably won't have any kind of retirement, and
really,
and there won't be any inheritance for my child. So I figured if I name him after Max, he'll at least have his godfather to take.
Wow, I'm his godfather now.
To take care of him, yeah.
Why do you assume I'm gonna make a lot of money?
Because you're a content creator. you're an influencer.
I am an influencer. I'm influencing heavily. I am an influencer.
You're influencing me right now.
Hashtag influencing. Yeah. But yeah, so where do you think that's gonna go? And then I also want to talk about who you are and
Sure.
we actually didn't really introduce you.
Yeah.
So maybe that's important. So maybe do that real quick.
Okay. So
give me your elevator pitch. Give me your LinkedIn
I don't have LinkedIn.
You don't have a LinkedIn.
No.
That's a flex to not have a LinkedIn. That means you really give zero.
I get a lot of emails from LinkedIn asking me to be on LinkedIn.
Get a LinkedIn.
But I'm not on LinkedIn.
Why do you not get LinkedIn?
I don't know. I've never really felt the need to have one, like a online business portfolio.
Yeah.
Like I have a website that I've used for creative stuff, but never felt like I needed somewhere to post places I've worked, because I've only worked one place ever since high school.
That's crazy.
It is kind of wild.
So in like 50 or 60 years, you've only worked in one place?
Don't let the gray hair fool you. I'm not that old.
How old are you?
I'm 34.
That's really surprising, considering the way you look.
Considering all those medications I saw you take this morning.
Hey, for those listening, Quinn has a beard down to his stomach, and yeah, he's balding. He wears a hat all the time, so you can't tell.
I'm not balding.
Really?
I'm not balding.
Okay, cool.
I mean, maybe I am receding a little bit.
I think the gray hair is not, it's a stress. It's not being old.
I've had gray hair. I've literally had gray hair since I was 25 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you're an old...
I'm just an old soul. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, introduction to myself. I do video.
A content creator.
I do video production.
What's your merch look like?
I don't have a line anymore. I had to discontinue it.
He had merch though. We'll talk about that too.
I've been doing that for over 20 years.
What would you rate it on Yelp?
I'd rate myself on Yelp. I don't know what rating system does Yelp use?
It's out of 5 stars.
1 to 5.
Yeah, it's 1 to 5 stars.
So I'd give myself a solid 4.
That's pretty high.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know.
Okay, you're a 4. And then how would you rate your career over the last 20 years?
What do you mean by rate?
Like highs and lows of being a content creator for 20 years.
As far as my enjoyment and what I have done, I would rate it a 5. I've loved what I've done. I've enjoyed it, and it's been fulfilling for me. I've got to see a lot of the world.
How many countries have you been to?
Honestly, I've never counted them up.
Yeah.
Maybe I should sometime. I've been asked that before and never had a good response there, so I probably should.
Well, that's cool that you don't know. That means you've probably been to a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I guess we're going to the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
Golden Gate Bridge. But did you always have the, like, you said it was like always enjoyment. How long did it take as far as like working within it to like get to the point where it was just like enjoyment?
So, well, that's the thing is I didn't start out, it wasn't a job at first. It was something I just loved doing. So I started making ski videos with my buddies. They were really good skiers. I was a mediocre, if that, skier. And so I decided, well, I want to show them skiing. I want to be involved still. And so being a filmer, I could make a video and we'd have a premiere at the end of the season and everyone would get together, and I loved having the opportunity for everyone to like gather at my house and watch what I've created and what they've done and how they've ridden throughout the year and get pumped up about it. So that's where I started. Then I met Dave Trevino and I about 20 years ago.
And I know Dave from working with Red Bull. Also, check that out. Golden Gate Bridge gang. Do you like the Golden Gate Bridge?
I like the Golden Gate Bridge.
What would you give it on Yelp?
On Yelp review, I'd give it a 4.5. And I wouldn't give it a full 5 because it makes a noise.
It makes a terrible, creepy noise. That's the noise.
That's kind of wild.
That's kind of freaky. Whoa. So we've been here for a bit now, and our apartment's like a mile that we're staying in. Our Airbnb is like a mile and a half from this bridge, and you can hear this noise, and it's super ominous and kind of freaky, honestly.
Yeah.
And we wanted to come investigate.
Bringing it back full circle, my kids who play Minecraft would say it's it sounds like Siren Head.
What's that?
I don't know. Something on Minecraft.
Sounds like Siren Head.
Yeah.
Dude, so they're crafters. That's kind of sick.
They're crafters.
Dude, I crafted back in the day. I was a crafter.
What,
I don't even know if that's a
last
thing.
year? It hasn't been around that long, has
Dude,
it?
I'm 28.
No, you're not.
How old am I?
You're 22. Didn't you tell me you're 22?
No.
No, you're 21.
I am 21. 21. Anyway, we were talking. So you met Dave, and then you guys started. And was it always Ramble? Or?
No. So we filmed wakeboard films together. We went in, worked with Microsoft for a little while for a game studio, which was fun.
How do you even get those gigs in general? Just knowing people?
Well, no. Dave started working at the studio that Microsoft bought.
Okay.
And because I was friends with Dave, I was just doing freelance work. They actually paid, get this, and I don't even know if this is legal or if this is why, I don't know if this is actually something I should ever divulge, but I'm going to. They paid me, so I was in high school, I was sophomore in high school at the time. They paid me in Xbox games.
What?
Instead of a paycheck, they paid me in Halo games. So I would get like 10 Halo games and either try and sell those or take them to like a GameStop type place.
Wow.
And return them for different games.
No way. Yeah. So you were in high school then, doing these jobs?
Sophomore in high school.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So then you went on your mission when you were 22, right?
19.
Oh, that guy's going fast. 19.
Yep. So.
And for people who don't know, what's a mission?
So
what is the mission?
In my church, in my religion, we can choose to go on a mission, which is a service mission that you go. You basically tell the church when you're ready, and they give you a call to go anywhere in the world, and you don't get to choose where you go. They just assign you to a certain place in the world, and you go there for 2 years, and the rules are pretty strict about like what you can and can't do
on the mission.
On the mission, because it's meant to focus you on serving the people in the country or the state or wherever you're serving. You're to focus on them and the message which you have.
And when you were like figuring out, well, I guess when the church decided for you where you're going, did you just get like a telegram that like told you where you're going?
Yeah.
Or how did you know?
They sent it via Morse code. No, so they send you. Well, now they do it all
over Snapchat. What's up, yo? You're going to Nepal. Yeah.
So they used to do it, and you used to get a big white envelope.
Okay.
And it had your call, where you're going, and then an information booklet on what you need to pack and the language you'll be speaking and stuff like that.
Wow.
An introduction to your president, so the person who's kind of your mom and dad while you're over there.
And you got that white letter, and where was the place that?
So when I got it, I couldn't even pronounce the first. So I opened it, and it said Romania, Bucharest is how I pronounced it. And I was like, Bucharest? And my dad's like, no, it's Bucharest.
Bucharest, okay.
So Romania, Bucharest mission.
That's crazy. So Romania. And so you went to Romania for 2 years when you were 19?
Da.
Okay. So that was Russian.
That was Romanian.
So Romanian's a mix of, and you learn the language.
So a lot of people think it's Russian.
Yeah.
It's actually not even close to Russian, but there are some sound like Russian sounding, but it's actually a Latin language, a Romance language.
Okay.
Very close to, well, not very close, but one of the closest living languages to original Latin.
Okay.
So. And
what was it like hopping on a plane in like, I was gonna make another old joke, but I think it's burning out. I was gonna say in '67, but yeah, hopping on a plane going to Romania for 2 years, and like you're leaving all your friends and stuff.
Well, after they fired up the props.
They fired up the props, they hand started the prop, just grab that thing and spin it.
It was a little wild. I mean, I have older brothers who also went on missions. They both actually came to California, one in Oakland and the other in Santa Rosa.
Okay.
And so I knew the feeling of being separated from your family, and on your mission you don't talk to even your family very often. So when
Is that intentional?
Yeah.
Okay.
In order to keep you kind of focused on this purpose.
Yeah. How did you mature in like 2 years in Romania? So you learned Romanian.
Right.
That's one thing.
Yeah. So
and how long did it take you to learn?
It was about a year before I was like proficient enough to understand pretty much everything that was going on. Before that, I mean, it was like I got, when I first got the country, so you have 6 weeks or 9 weeks in a training center where you're focused on learning things about the church, but also the language. And you think by the end of that you're like, oh yeah, I can speak. Well, yeah. By the end of that, I was so discouraged in that experience that I literally thought, there's no way I'm ever learning this language. Then I get there and I was even more discouraged because what they had taught me there didn't sound anything like what was actually being what it sounded like there. And so I remember the very first night we went and talked with some members of the church that were there, some natives, and I understood zero, zilch, nothing. Wow. And actually started falling asleep because of the time, the jet lag, as well as the fact that I just had no idea what was going on. It was just this droning chatter. So.
And is Bucharest like a big city?
Bucharest is, yeah.
Okay.
And I only served, I served, my first area was in Bucharest, but then I served throughout the country of Romania.
Were you in like rural places as well too?
They were usually based in cities, and then you would go out into the rural areas.
True.
So yeah, it was kind of all over the place.
And then what's the point? So the point of the mission is what exactly?
So, the ultimate point of the mission is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. And to hopefully make people's lives better and happier, and to help them, and to hopefully teach them that there's, what they're... Oh. Am I supposed to stop there? I don't think
people are not that great at driving here.
Is to teach them about their relationship with God and His relationship with them, and there's a lot of sadness and confusion and all kinds of things in the world that can be overwhelming, and so the point of the gospel is to try and kind of reduce down to the essence of why you're here and where you're going, and trying to answer some of those questions of life.
True. You got back to Salt Lake City, and what kind of changed throughout as far as like your goals before versus after, or was it fairly similar?
Before, so yeah, for sure, because what it does is it basically it's a concentrated time to like mature your desires and everything, so like I came back totally like revved up to start a family, to learn, get an education, just all of these like kind of bigger life goals that before, as a 19-year-old, I didn't care about. It wasn't that big of a deal for me, and so I guess it kind of helped me. It forced me into thinking about those maybe more important or just bigger life goals.
Do you appreciate having that kind of like calibration before you kind of started your life?
Yeah, and I think that's a good word to use. Like the word calibration is pretty accurate, because and I think it's one of the reasons that the church has done this program for 19 and 20-year-old young men and young women, in order to kind of help the members of the church is in that age group to kind of calibrate their lives and figure out what it is that they believe in from a religious perspective, and to talk about those things, to to kind of wrestle with some of those kind of questions, and then also to think about and talk about some of the struggles of, you know, when you're out there in the mission field, you talk with people whose lives are torn apart by all kinds of things, by marriages that go bad, by alcoholism, and by, you know, all these things that influence these people, and you see how their lives are torn apart in certain ways, and you're trying to help them, but at the same time you kind of have to realize this is life.
Yeah. And
how do you want to navigate these, especially once you get home? Got back and decided, at first I wanted to do filmmaking, and I had this idea that I'd go into Hollywood and make these awesome films. And
so Hollywood was the original goal.
Oh, yeah, Hollywood was kind of the original goal.
Okay. And what was like dream film for you?
Well, so the dream job for me has always been, even since I was a little kid, I wanted to work for National Geographic.
Okay, true.
Since I was a kid. My dad used to subscribe to National Geographic, and every single time it would come, I would always come home from school, look in the mailbox, and look for the craft paper wrapped National Geographic, and that was like my dream job since I was a kid. Then I wanted to do a Discovery Channel filmer.
True.
But
like wildlife kind of stuff?
Yeah, like and Sahara. just like indigenous peoples and just wild assignments, you know, volcanoes and all kinds of stuff. And I think it stems from this. I'm just a very curious person.
Yeah.
I've always been super curious, and so that's just part of it. But then I started doing these ski videos, as I said, and I started thinking, well, kind of the next step is Hollywood. You know, like that's kind of what everyone's doing. So I was thinking film school and then go to Hollywood. Well, I get home from my mission, I go to school for about a week, and I get a call.
A week?
From a guy actually in our area who does aerial work for Hollywood. His name's Craig Hoskins.
Aerial, like helicopter stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just a cool guy. And they were looking for someone who could just pick up and go down to Mexico to work on the set of a film for a month and a half in San Felipe, Mexico. And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. I will drop my classes. There's a yellow light, almost red. I'll drop my classes and I'll go down and do that. And it was to work on the set of a James Bond film. And it was just like, it was a great opportunity for me. It was a lot of fun.
Quantum of Solace.
Yeah.
That's crazy that it just happened to be a James Bond film of all things.
Yeah, I know.
That's so sick.
And so I go down there.
It's not like some other, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted, but.
And I go down there, and I'm just a fuel tank driver, so I'm driving their fuel to certain drop points in the desert, so they can come down, they can shoot their sequence, come down, and then fill up, and then go back up. And while I was there, because it was a small second unit crew, we all got to know each other pretty well, even though I was kind of like this outsider kid.
Yeah.
Everybody there was super nice.
How old were they?
I mean, they were ranged, but most of them were in their 30s and 40s, a couple maybe in their 50s.
True.
And but super willing to like talk about the business and answer questions. And so I just started, you know, pelting them with all kinds of questions. And the general consensus that I came to was I really love filmmaking, but I don't know that I love being just a tiny little cog in this giant machine. And it became almost it wasn't devastating for me, but like a couple of them were like, you don't really need to do film school. Like if you just like telling stories. And again, YouTube really wasn't that big at this point.
Yeah.
People weren't.
It was kind of that way or the highway.
Yeah, well, it was Hollywood, and then you can just do what I was doing already, and that was telling stories of like businesses or doing training videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was kind of stuck in between these areas of interest. I still kind of went down the filmmaking route, not exactly sure which way I'd go, but I just kind of was discouraged because I didn't feel like, I don't know if Hollywood's really the way that I want to go. So I get back from that, and Dave and I start a business together, And Art Design, and that was our first official business together. We got a couple of good clients that were super fun.
And how did you get those clients off the bat?
Well, it was, I actually don't remember how we got, so Skull Candy was our biggest client. They were a headphone manufacturer based out of Park City, Utah, where we were obviously in Salt Lake. And so it seems like it was just through one of our friends who ended up going there to work there. He worked in the kind of athlete and marketing area and recommended us, and we just started doing a bunch of videos with their athletes and traveling all over to the Dew Tours, to the X Games,
and you find that work fulfilling? Were you like psyched on it?
I was psyched on it just because it was interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're dealing with professional athletes, which at the time was like pretty awesome. Like I grew up loving like BMX, for example. Yeah. And so being around, Fuzzy Hall and filming Fuzzy Hall for me was like, oh, this is awesome. Like I grew up just idolizing this guy, and wakeboarders and all these guys. And then it got to the point where it's like, I mean, they're just people too, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to necessarily idolize these guys. And I still enjoyed it. I still loved doing it, but it wasn't, I wanted to, I felt like I was just basically trying to schlep headphones, right? Like,
yeah.
It just kind of felt a little shallow, and not that it's necessarily bad or anything. I wanted something more. I wanted bigger stories to tell, and documentary stories were always like, if I ever got the chance to do anything like that, even like when I was younger, I was able to do a family history video for someone in our neighborhood. And
really?
I enjoyed it, and even though that sounds super boring, to me it was really interesting because everybody's got interesting stories, and I'm not trying to just sell something. It's not like a commercial project, and so it just felt more fulfilling for me. And so Dave and I go along, and we lose one of our biggest clients, or actually we didn't lose him. So Dave goes in-house to Skull Candy, and I chose to go back to school full-time. And
what made you go to school after having clients and stuff
it kind of came down to this odd interaction that I had with a guy who basically told me, he's like, if you don't have an education and for some reason filmmaking doesn't work out, you're toast. Like, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And although I don't necessarily respect the person who I had this conversation with, I totally like had this moment of like, crap, what if I burn my hands and go blind somehow?
Yeah.
Have nothing to fall back on. Because I literally have not had, aside from my brother's business of detailing cars when I was 12, I've never had another job.
Yeah.
So I just decided, and I've always loved like learning about all kinds of different stuff, and so this idea of college, like a college education, to me was like this opportunity to take a step back and just learn about all kinds of different stuff was awesome for me. And so I decided to do it, but I had to get into college first, and I was a horrible high school student, and I never took the ACT, SAT. I didn't take math my senior year of high school. And so when I went to apply to the University of Utah, I got a rejection letter.
Really?
Saying you didn't meet a lot of requirements in order to get in. And so what I did was I sent an email to the film department. And I said, hey, this is what I've done. And I sent some links to some videos. This is what I'm interested in studying there. I'd love to be in your program. And I said, do you guys ever, sponsor in? They said, yeah, we can do a conditional acceptance or conditional something. And it meant that I had to take the ACT and a couple of prerequisite classes in order to get in, but they sponsored me in. So that's how I got into the University of Utah.
Yeah, and just throughout your university experience, how much did you really get from it compared to what you think you would get from it?
Well, so I changed my degree from film. Yeah. Even though they did help me get in, and I'm super appreciative of that. That was when I basically made the decision that I didn't want to do Hollywood. Okay. And so I switched and I went to a Bachelor of Undergraduate Study, University Studies. And that, for me, was really fulfilling because I chose my degree. I chose everything that was on my electives and in my degree path. I chose everything in order to fit what I wanted to have for my degree. And so what I got out of it, after doing that, I got out a ton more because they were all things that I was interested in, and they were all rigorous. Like, it wasn't like I just chose all the easiest classes. Yeah. But they were all super interesting to me. They were all way different. But they had some tie back to what I was already doing, and so I felt like I got a lot out of it. Now, in the end, the final get out that I got of having a degree is basically worthless, right? Because I'm my own boss. I'm not going to give myself a raise after I got a degree. Like, it's just not a realistic goal, I guess, because it's kind of a dumb thing that you kind of have to do in order to get to the next stage. But I don't necessarily think everyone needs to have a college degree, and I don't think it makes sense for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of other alternatimes now.
You think even, especially nowadays too, with all the online education and stuff like that?
There's some awesome stuff online. I mean, even while I was going to school, it was kind of just brand new. That's just, changing the game totally. I'm looking at, like, we do a lot of work with Pluralsight, and they have a lot of coders that they're not going to college, getting a formal education in college. They're doing a lot of their training through Pluralsight. Yeah. And changing their lives, and it's awesome. I love...
Wow. Sounds like whales or something.
Yeah, that's wild.
I wonder if the mics are picking it up. They 100% are.
That's so crazy.
So then, you get out of school. Real quick, I wanted to ask, so you do interviews all the time for people?
I'm not on this side of the
No, I know. But you interview people about their life story and stuff like that a decent amount. Sure. Is it, so I've had kind of, I don't know about an issue, but it's very common to be like, okay, so where were you born? And then you just go on from there, Yeah. It's like the classic, even what you're doing right now. Yeah. Is you just kind of go through the motions of okay, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this. Yeah. Do you think there's a more creative and a better way to go about doing that? Or is it kind of just this is what it is?
So, if I look at some of the stories that I enjoy most, rarely is it chronological. It's almost always has to do with something that they're passionate about, or where the problem and solution are, right? So conflict and resolution is far more interesting than
chronological.
Then I was born here, this, and this.
Yeah.
This.
So how do you think I can like improve on my interview skills and like the questions I ask and stuff like that?
I don't know. I think you're doing a pretty good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think it's an art, like an actual art form to like
ask the right questions.
Yeah, ask the right questions. There's a guy in Utah that's on the radio named Doug Fabrizio that is a master at asking the right questions.
And what makes him good? Like, what are the characteristics that he has?
He's super well read in whatever it is that he's talking about.
Okay.
And is able to formulate those questions. I'm sure they're formulated beforehand, but he's also spontaneous in the way that he asks them as he's kind of guiding this interview around.
What is your approach to like talking to people and interviewing them? Like, how much do you, because like, so for example, my first podcast I did with my first guest, I had every question written out.
Yeah.
And it was not good on my part because it was just question. Yeah. And if you just like look at the waveforms, it's just him talking, then me talking, then him, and then it's just like question, answer, and it's like pretty boring. And I've found that the more like conversational, like casual, you get almost, because people aren't as tense sometimes, and so you can get a more honest feedback than like just like sitting down with like lights and like super aggressive kind of stuff. You also lose their focus and you can get distracted, especially when you're driving through San Francisco. But it's a give and take, I guess.
Yeah, and I think like part of, and we talked about this earlier in the car, but like the ethics of journalism, like everybody always talks about, you know, I mean, especially during the Donald Trump years of fake news and biased news sources and stuff like that. And the thing people I don't think understand is like everybody is biased. Every single time you turn on any kind of information, any media source, any news organization, it's going to be biased because it comes through this imperfect, biased conduit of a human, right? And so anytime that you're able to reduce that that conduit down to its core and like so for example, when you're adding lights, you're setting up lights, you're setting up these big cameras, and you start in on an interview with someone, you've already altered the true reality of that moment. Even your being there is altering it, and so it's not entirely accurate, and it's going to be biased, and so there's already going to be some influence there that is changing things in some way or another. And so trying your best in order to kind of minimize your impact, your bias, where you point the camera, you know, is always, I think, crucial and key to telling a good story.
Yeah. Have you ever,
it's not your story, it's their story.
True. Have you ever had an interview where it's felt super close? Because even like, so like we were at Eileen's house last night filming with her and her family, and we had this conversation with Eileen's mom, and it felt like very genuine.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an interview where the interview is felt as genuine and with the cameras on and all that stuff as you would think a normal conversation would have?
Yeah, I think every interview I've ever done starts inauthentic, and as people forget about the cameras and they start concentrating on just a conversation between the two of you, it changes, and it's pretty awesome to have that. But I think still people, I mean, here I am, and I feel like I'm a pretty authentic person, but
I'd agree.
I'm trying to convey these ideas that are in my head that I never talk to people about, and try and translate them out through my mouth. And so I'm already, you know, changing and trying to figure out how to, you know, I mean, it's just how life is. Some of my favorite still photographers are are street photographers. And it's because they get an authentic moment, even though there's bias even in that authentic moment. They're still pointing their camera and they're still focusing on something, and they're changing the reality of that moment by just getting a frame within a fraction of a second. 1/250th of a second is, that's bias, and you're it's not the truth with a capital T, but it's closer than Desperate Housewives of San Francisco, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. It's an interesting concept and idea to try. It's kind of the challenge, right? Of like good documentary filmmakers. Well, now I think that's changed, but I think those who are still true to the core of like telling someone else's story rather than having this story that they want told and forcing that out through other people's point of views.
Yeah. Why do you say, well, two things. One, you said you formulate thoughts that you never talk about. Uh-huh. Why do you never talk about them? And then two, the first one.
So it's because I don't talk very often.
Really?
Yeah, my wife will tell you that I have tons of stuff written down, and this is going to sound like some creepy weird, like I've got this manifesto written, like I write tons of stuff down. I write tons of thoughts down into the Notes app on my phone, and I've just got pages and pages and pages and pages of just thoughts, ideas, quotes, drawings, sketches of designs and things that I want to build, and but I don't often formulate them into a string of like intelligible words that someone else can like, oh yeah, I get what you're trying to say, because I don't talk that often.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm serious.
You don't come across as like shy or not.
I'd say I'm.
There's a corgi.
There's a corgi without a tail. Yeah, I'd say I'm fairly shy person.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's always come back to bite me. I mean, even in high school, I remember some friends telling me that people thought that I was stuck up and just a jerk because I didn't say anything. It wasn't that I was a jerk. I mean, maybe I was, but it wasn't necessarily that. It was just the fact that I would much rather listen to people and listen to what's going on in their life, and in my head I'll be formulating things, and I'll be coming up with these comebacks. If someone says something to me and I have this comeback, it'll be like in my head and I don't necessarily say it, or I'll try and say it but I stumble over my words. And so I've always just kind of tried to retract a little bit.
I think it's good though, because we need more listeners.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important to listen. I think we have far too many people who enjoy listening to themselves talk.
Yes. I am one of those people. That's why I am doing this, because I'm trying to learn how to listen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate that. I think that's super important. Yeah, I think there's a need for empathy, and the only way you can empathize is to listen to someone else, or at least observe, and oftentimes we use our ears to observe. So
that's a good quote. Oftentimes we use our ears to observe.
Yeah. True.
And then, oh gosh, I already forgot the other question.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good.
Your two questions.
Dude, I think I have like some sort of ADD. I don't know if I have ADD. I don't want to be one of, those people who are like, oh, I have ADHD. Self-diagnosed.
Diagnosed.
But corgis, dude.
But then there's corgis.
But then there are corgis.
I actually don't have any opinions on corgis.
I think they're kind of funny. It's one of those dogs, like, do you ever see small dogs and you're just like, I want to drop kick it? Like, you just like, you're really cute, but you just want to like have you seen Anchorman?
Yes.
When Jack Black takes a dog and throws it off the bridge. I'm like, I don't know why I feel this way, but I think like my brain's just like, drop kick it.
Your inner Jack Black.
But I want one. Like, when I'm older, I want a dog, like a trail dog that I can be like attack, like a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
And then I want a dog I can drop kick whenever I get angry enough. It's just like 16 years together with this dog.
So no one ever sell him a dog, okay? Because you know what he's going to do.
Within 3 minutes, we talked about listening and observing with your ears to drop kicking corgis off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, we just had to say goodbye to our dog that we've had for 11 years.
Wow.
It's pretty sad, Boone. Little Vishla.
Where'd you kick him off? I'm sorry.
That's what we just did over the Golden Gate Bridge.
That's a good way to go out, dude.
Yeah, well, that's...
I'm sorry you lost your dog, though.
Yeah, it is. It is a bummer, but...
What's your preferred length of a podcast?
Oh, dude, I've listened to...
Are you long podcast
I love
guy?
long ones, but I mean, like, 99% Invisible, those are like 20 minutes max.
Okay. It's so funny because some people are long like I'm a long podcast guy.
Yeah, I like long podcasts.
But then some people are like, if it's over 30 minutes, I refuse to start it. And I'm like, brah. How often do you like listen to podcasts and stuff?
I used to be a huge podcast. Like I loved all kinds of podcasts, and I have a really varied amount, like a varied topics of podcasts. And I had to, and I was between that and Audible. Mm-hmm. I was listening to so many things that they were all starting to like blend together, and so like I was listening to Les Miserables, the book, and the Serial podcast, and all of a sudden like there's weird things that are starting to mesh together in these two audio sources going into my head. And stories were getting mixed up, and so I had to kind of slow down, and I've actually stopped listening to Audible for a little while.
It's addicting.
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly addicted. I am like 80% of my day, I have my AirPods in, and I'm listening to something. And
I've slowed down on podcasts to just a couple a week, and it's actually been kind of nice. For a while I was building my house, and so I'd have all of these things going all at once, and I kind of switched to music for a little while, and then maybe a podcast, and then more music, and it was a good balance. I think I need more just loud music in my life.
Yeah, true. I've it's funny, so there's the Bo Burnham Inside thing. One of the songs is called Welcome to the Internet, and he talks about, well, one of the quotes from the songs is a little bit of, like, it's about the internet, and it's like a little bit of everything all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Yeah. A little bit of everything all the time. And that kind of like made me realize how much I'm on the internet a little bit all the time. Yeah. And I like, and I tried I tried making breakfast without listening to a podcast or not looking at my phone or anything, and my body was just like aching for more stimulation. Yeah. I'm like, this is so boring. Like I need more. Like the other day, I literally was editing video. I had to put like a blur over someone's face while listening to a podcast. So I was editing a podcast video, but then I had Neil deGrasse Tyson and Joe Rogan in my ears. And then the person in the podcast isn't Neil deGrasse Tyson, but she was gesturing her hands and talking. And so in my brain was like, that's Neil deGrasse Tyson talking. And I was like, this is so much, I need to stop. But
well, it kind of got down to a very similar idea with me and my kids. Is true. My kids are not good at being bored. Yeah. And they think they have to be entertained at all times, or they have to jump on their iPads when they're bored. And I know it's because they watch their parents do that. You know, when there's a lull in any kind of moment, you know, the phones come out and you start scrolling. Yeah. And so I've made a very conscious effort not to do that, and to remember how much I have learned in being bored, and just like taking those dull moments and thinking through things and piecing things together in my head, and not just receiving stimulation the whole time.
So there's a value to boredom.
So I think there's a total value to boredom, and there's an art to it. You know, you kind of have to learn how to do it without gouging your eyes out. And my kids haven't learned that yet, and I don't know how to teach it. You know, I think it's something that you learned naturally as a kid without tons of immediate stimulation. So
I need to relearn it. I forgot it. It's like an instrument I haven't practiced in a long time. I just like, whenever I'm bored, all I can think about, it's literally like I'm like addicted to heroin. It's like when I'm bored and not on something or not plugged in somehow, all I can think about is like my phone and wanting to get plugged back in. Yeah. That's terrifying. I've never really thought about how much dang. Yeah. That's rowdy. Get more bored.
Yeah.
True.
I think it's important to be bored. It's important to be creative and curious and bored.
How often are you bored nowadays?
I mean, I think it's misleading to say bored, because if you're bored just for a second, but then you learn how to be bored, you're no longer in the bored state, and you take yourself into like a productive...
A value.
Yeah, a productive spot of
thinking and going through that process.
Yeah. And so that turns from being bored to for just a minute to then being productive in, you know, piecing together your thoughts.
Wrap up. Be more bored. Be careful drop kicking your corgi off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, I mean, just be careful with it.
Thanks for talking, dude.
Thank you.
You provide much value to the world, and I wish to sit down with you for like 2.5 hours and just keep talking about stuff because it's so fun.
Yeah, I feel bad that you have to go edit this at some point in your life.
Why do you feel bad?
Because it's going to be just as boring editing as it was sitting in my car.
So you thought this was a boring conversation?
I didn't, but I'm sure you did.
Yeah, this sucked. All right.
I'm not Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Hey, but you have some interesting. So what? All right, real quick, something about that. There is something to be said about just talking to like people. Just like they don't need some crazy accolade. Okay. It's like people
I can get behind
are
that.
Just as interesting.
Yeah.
Because the only people. I mean, it goes like there and back, you know. But like, if you think about it, look at that. Oh my gosh, what a legend! Yo, he had an airplane pillow behind his neck. But all the media, like Joe Rogan, hasn't had like a standard. Like, think about it. He doesn't have like a standard person on his podcast, right? Which would be really interesting,
right? And the same guy that I was talking about for Doug Fabrizio on Radio West, he's the same way. He's got such different people from all walks of life, and that's what makes it.
I think that's super important, because I had issue with that, because like, you know how when you become a content creator, you have to find your audience. Yeah. So I'm like, who's my audience? Because it would just be like skiers or like whatever, because you like find your thing and then you can market yourself to those people, and then you have companies that market themselves to those people that they market you, and then it all ties in. But when you interview like homeless people, and then like you, and then like people my age that don't know what they want to do with their lives, and then skiers and all those things, I don't have like a clear audience because I don't have a clear guest list. Right. So it's kind of hard.
But you're breaking the machine.
I know.
There's a machine that's in place to make to make revenue off of this, to track people, you know, to sell ads to, and you're breaking the machine.
I'm breaking the machine, but when you break the machine, then you don't really have another machine to even work with.
True.
Which isn't very good for doing it as a living. Yeah. Ultimately.
But somehow maybe you can.
We will see, dude. Who knows?
I can open up a bag of something and review it if that helps sell something. That helps.
What do we got?
We got
this is sponsored by Niagara Purified Drinking Water.
Yeah. Always the greatest water.
The best water. It's like bottled water, but also bottled water. And then we're also driving into San. Where are we going? Are we going to the park?
I'm just going to Eileen's school.
Okay.
Right now, because I've driven there 5 times.
You missed the turn again.
Yeah, I did. That's the truth. I actually don't know how to get home from here.
Okay, I can look it up. But any last words for the kids out there, for the people, for the youth who are like, I don't know what to do.
Einstein said, "Never lose a holy curiosity." I believe very strongly in that. Never lose a holy curiosity.
Go to school, kids. Spend your money.
I'm not sure that's what I would recommend.
All right,
we'll say it for now.
We'll say it. Never lose your holy curiosity. Peace out. Like and subscribe if you liked the video.
Smash that